So let's start with our Python. Now, when you actually try to learn a programming language, it is actually kind of very important for you to understand how that programming language actually works. Okay, so so far you are familiar with MATLAB. So, and if you are actually working with the assignments and so on, so I believe you have a very good understanding on MATLAB so far now. So, what we'll actually do, we'll try to do a little bit of comparison based study at the beginning, so that you can differentiate between MATLAB and Python. Okay. So, because you are learning two programming languages, otherwise you will actually jumble up both things. But these two programming languages are actually different, very different. So so that you don't jumble up all of those things, I will try to differentiate between MATLAB and Python. In that way we'll try to learn. Okay, so let's start with this kind of, okay, and differentiate. So try to create one by yourself. Okay, it will be very helpful because all the syntaxes are a little bit different. The same thing, the programming basics is same, only the syntax is different. Okay, so creating this kind of differentiation will help you actually remember the syntax properly. Okay, so let's start with the data types. Data types is the fundamental things of a programming language, and we have seen different data types in MATLAB. Okay, okay, so the first thing that we learned in MATLAB was an array. Okay, so an array, and we used, okay, these square brackets, okay, to denote an array. Okay, so something like this. Say for example, a is equals to, okay, if I write something like this, 2 comma 5. Okay, this was a row vector. Okay, and then there was a, we can actually convert it into a column vector as well. So this was an array. The next thing that we actually saw there was, that was a matrix. Okay, the matrix was like 3 by 4 matrix, or 4 by 10 matrix. So there are different size. Okay, not a single row or a column vector, it was a matrix. Okay, and I have told you that MATLAB actually works based on matrix, because MATLAB names come from matrix laboratory. Okay, we'll look into that a little bit later, what does that actually means. So another thing that was we learned, that is called cell. Okay, now cell, for cell we use this, okay, curly braces. Okay, now the difference between this array and cell was, the array can store homogeneous data only. Okay, either numeric value or either character array or string, but cannot store both at the same time, not that way. So but cell can. Okay, so that was for heterogeneous data. Okay, this was for heterogeneous data. Okay, heterogeneous, and these two are for homogeneous data type. Now okay, then we actually saw something that is called character array. Okay, and to denote character array we used single quote. Okay, we used single quote. Okay, single quote. And we also saw, okay, in the latest versions of MATLAB it also provides something that is called a string, okay, or a string array. So it is like using double quotes. Okay, and both are these two are similar but not the same. Okay, there are difference in MATLAB between these two. So these things have already been discussed with you. So then we also saw something like this, that is called a table. Okay, so when you are working with say for example CSV file or Excel file, when you import those files in MATLAB, it was automatically saved as a table. So it is a very uh, uh, preferable way to store data, okay, to work with the data. So a table is used, and table is also this heterogeneous data type. Okay, so this array or matrix, these are homogeneous data type, and cell or table, these are for heterogeneous data type. That means you can store numerical value or categorical type, okay, something like that, or string as well, all in the same time, or in the same way. Now, so when you start with Python, okay, so table, another one is categorical type. Now, when you start with Python, you need to first understand how Python works. Okay, but to understand how Python works, first you need to actually introduce yourself. Okay, make yourself familiar with these data types first. What are the data types for Python? Okay, let's look into that first. Okay, so for Python, we call it, okay, the equivalent of array in Python. The equivalent of array in Python is something that we call a list. Okay, that is something that is called a list. Okay, so if we come here, say for example in Anaconda here, so as you can see, the b was 6,7, so this was a list. Okay, say for example if I write something like this, okay, so as you can see, C is also a list. It is storing two characters, two strings. Now one thing to notice here, very important, that if I write something like this, say for example, okay, okay, now as you can see, uh, the D, this is also a list, and it is storing the numerical value as well as this string. That means the Python's list, okay, is heterogeneous type. It is unlike MATLAB's. Okay, so Python's list, okay, it is actually, uh, we are using the square brackets to denote, and the most important thing is this list is heterogeneous type. Okay, it supports heterogeneous data types. Okay, which is actually different from MATLAB. Okay, so this is actually list, and we use this square brackets to denote a list. Now we'll come into that later, the matrix portion. So this cell, there is nothing like cell in Python. Okay, because this array and cell both actually function similar. Okay, using a list. Okay, this was for homogeneous data and this was for heterogeneous data. But for Python, a list actually supports both homogeneous and heterogeneous data. So these are incorporated in the same thing. Okay, so there is no difference between those things in Python. Achha. Now the second thing that is called, for these two, character array and string array. Okay, in Python there is only one thing that is called a string. Okay, that is called a string, and you can denote a string using double quote or, okay, single quote. Okay, the difference, there is no difference between these two. Okay, understand, in MATLAB there was a difference between using this single quote or double quote. Character and string were different, but for Python, this both actually denote the same thing. There is no difference between them. Okay, so for example if I write something like this, okay, so as you can see, E is a string, F is equals to, again I write the same thing, E and F both are a string named as Y, and if I write this equivalent side, as you can see the output is actually true. This was the logical output. That means E and F are same. So this is not actually similar for same for actually MATLAB. They actually offer different functionalities in MATLAB, but for Python both actually works in the same way. Okay, so these are strings. Then now there are some other data types that are available in Python, okay, that are not available in MATLAB. Okay, say for example one thing, that is something that is called a tuple. Okay, a tuple, and to denote a tuple we use this round brackets. Okay, or fast bracket. Okay, these round brackets, understand, the round bracket was used for different purpose in MATLAB. Okay, to extract something from an array we use this round bracket in MATLAB, but for Python, okay, we use this round brackets to denote a tuple. So what is a tuple? Say for example, okay, say if I write something that is called, okay, Harry, okay, that is, say for example 15. Okay, now as you can see, the data type is a tuple with two elements. It can also store 3 elements or 4 elements. We'll get into the details of these data types a little bit later, but for now this is actually different from a list. Okay, it offers different functionalities compared to list. Okay, so we'll discuss those things a little bit later. Okay, so this is one thing that is called a tuple, and this one it was not available in MATLAB. So there is another one that is called dictionary. So a dictionary is something like this. Okay, that's first. To denote a dictionary, we use curly braces. To denote a cell in MATLAB, we use these curly braces, but for Python, we use these curly braces for dictionary. Okay, so you need to actually try to practice a little bit because the syntax is a little bit different than MATLAB. So you need to practice a little bit to get handle of this thing. Okay, so let's come here. Say for example, let's create a dictionary. X is equals to something. Say for example, I write. Okay, so India. Okay, India হচ্ছে so from Asia. Okay, Asia. Sweet. So as you can see, X, the type of X is a dict. Dict means actually dictionary. Now understand, I use this second bracket. Okay, let's copy it here. So let's try to understand how to edit here. Okay, as you can see, so first of all, I use this second bracket or curly braces to denote a dictionary. And as you can see, there it has two terms. Okay, the first one, this is called the keys, and this is the value. Okay, this is called a key value pair. Okay, key value pair. Okay, so uh, key value pair means, so when you are writing a dictionary, it has a key and it has a value. Say for example, in a normal dictionary like English dictionary, so there was a word and the meaning of the word is the value. So the word is the key, the meaning of the word is the value. So something like this, and it has its own uses to make things very easy. So we'll discuss those things a little bit later. Okay, so just to introduce you with these things. Okay, so these are the basic Python data types that are available in MATLAB, in Python. But one thing is important is that, as you can see, I have not discussed here. So for example, table, okay, or a matrix, how to represent a matrix or table in Python. Now, the basic Python does not offer any data types for those things. Okay, but try to understand, Python is an open source. That means there are different libraries out there, okay, that we can use, okay, in Python that actually supports this kind of things. Okay, those libraries, those additional libraries are not some foreign object. They are like incorporated into Python. Okay, so understand, MATLAB is actually not open source. It is actually controlled by MathWorks, a company. So everything that is available, everything that is been available in MATLAB is actually done by MathWorks. But in Python, since it is open source, there are different developers developing, writing different platforms, different libraries, and those libraries we can use, and we'll actually look into that a little bit later. All right.